affinity, reclaiming the divine flow of creation. Dolphin Star Temple, Higher Council. Contemporization of the ancient Egyptian mystery school. In ancient times, mystery schools existed in a more obvious and tangible form on earth. At the height of Egyptian spirituality, for example, the entire culture was centered on the spiritual temples of the mystery school. A person from any walk of life might experience a spiritual awakening, recognizing the importance of living in harmlessness and impeccability, to do what one's know is the right thing to do in every situation. Choose to awaken fully and become enlightened and align with his or her highest destiny. These types of inner experiences sometimes impulse spiritual seekers to join a mystery school, a system for healing, clearing, and moving through the initiatic path to enlightenment and ascension. When the people of ancient Egypt experienced this impulse, they would go to the temples to be evaluated by the priest and priestess. At times, the priest and priestess would give the prospective student assignments to complete before entering the initiatic path in the mystery school temple system. The prospective student was accepted into the mystery school only after he or she had completed the assignments and prepared himself or herself by 1. Understanding the difference between ego identification and identification with the Holy Spirit. 2. Making a full commitment to impeccability and honoring the sacredness of all things and all people. 3. Learning that the circumstances of his or her life and relationships are teachers. 4. Learning enough through meditation to hold safe boundaries. And 5. Recognizing that life choices can no longer be based on emotional reactions such as fear, anger, and revenge. At that point, the seeker would go before the priestess or Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess. The Sekhmet channels and priestess were the clairvoyants. An applicant, before being accepted into the temples for training and healing, would stand before these clairvoyants who had highly developed gifts of sight. They knew how to look past the most well-constructed facets to what was beneath it. The Sekhmet priestess accepted individuals into the mystery school only when they saw that they were sincere and willing to be completely exposed to every level and nothing to hide, and were humbled and grateful when ego and karmic agendas were revealed. In other words, if a seeker did not welcome wholeheartedly the knowledge of what needed to be healed and what habits and attitudes were in need of change, then the individual was not prepared to accept the responsibility of the initiatic path in a nature and safer manner, or in a mature and safer manner. Once the seeker had passed through the Sekhmet screening and preparations, he or she would enter the Hathor temples. There, the lovely priestess of divine, Mother Hathor, will begin the process of healing and renewing the emotional and etheric bodies and the inner child. Until seekers learn how to love and care for the inner child, the innocence and purity necessary for holding light were not accessible. Hathor explains in a channeling that the master being is actually a balance of the magical child and the mature adult. Again, Hathor explains in a channeling that the master being is actually a balance of the magical child and the mature spiritual adult. When the child and mature adult live in harmony, cooperation, and trust, great depths of self-love follow. Then and only then can the high initiates be approached with any hope of a truly divine outcome. This is because the innocence of the child is the balance of divine wisdom and knowledge. The purity of the child safely opens the door for divine power. The awe and wonder of the child supports the spiritual creativity and humility of the mature adult. The priestess of Hathor used hands-on healing, sacred sound, and mother love to help restore this sacred balance. The seeker was sent for higher teachings from the priest and priestess of Isis, Osiris, Hathor, Mat, Tar, and Thoth. Only when the Hathor priestess said he or she was ready, then the Ka activations would begin. Alternating with Kundalini work, higher teachings and practices, and other individual processes, the Ka is the vehicle through which the individual Christ self interfaces and becomes one with the personality and the body consciousness. Next, step by step, the initiation by initiation, the seeker would progress through the mystery school system in a sequential order to prematurely learn a psychic skill or multi-dimensional alignment can lead to misuse of power, possession, and great pain. A mystery school is a spiritual place or teaching in which a human being can learn, experience healing, and higher states of consciousness, and through right reaction or right action and practice over time, attain to full body and all chakra enlightenment. After 7 initiatic stages of enlightenment have been completed, the initiate moves into the next phase, becoming Christ conscious. When this final phase has been attained and served on earth completed, the Christ self may simply choose to raise the frequency of the body and ascend, leaving no physical remains behind, or choose to experience full body conscious death, and move straight through the ascension portals, leaving to karma free physical body behind, or leaving the karma free physical body behind. The goal in any mystery school, therefore, is to transcend all illusions of limitations on the physical plane, to live in alignment with divine truth and accomplish multidimensional alignment with one's true self and with God. God is all that is, and all in surrender to the divine flow of love. In other words, to become the Christ self. The initiations along the way present the person with challenges and revelations relative to that person's karma and his or her tendencies toward misidentification with illusions and ego. As a person meets those challenges and transcends ego allurements, then the person moves to the next initiatic path. Each initiatic level begins with a transcendental experience during which the seeker is given a reference point demonstrating the state of consciousness he or she will be in when that initiatic level is complete. After the person anchors that reference point, a clearing phase begins. The clearing phase includes life challenges, surfacing of old emotions, past life karmic patterns and memories, and anything that needs to be recognized, healed, cleared, and transcended. When this is completed, the next level begins and proceeds in a similar manner until all the initiatic levels have been mastered. These ancient temples, then in the Dolphin Star Temple Mystery School now, follow this form of sacred protocol as a way of ensuring the seeker the greatest hope of attaining the highest goal in integrity and light. The Dolphin Star Temple. Dolphin Star Temple is a mystery school system designed to assist participants toward full body enlightenment, Christ consciousness, and ascension. In doing so, the intention is to glorify and sanctify human third-dimensional reality by bringing it into full alignment with divine truth and divine love through all dimensions, not to run away from physical existence. The physical dimension is simply the place where souls have an opportunity to experience life and its many circumstances in a sequential manner. Through time and space, it is the place where higher dimensional consciousness are grounded and experience one thing at a time, and that it is a place in which all dimensions and aspects of consciousness can eventually meet and experience oneness. Therefore, in this mystery school of ascension teachings, participants are encouraged to be life-affirming and to fully embody their Christed selves, Life is a great gift to our higher selves, our holy spirits. When our identities return to truth, we become who we really are, and we are released from false identifications and ego. Then we are free to exist in the divine flow of oneness through all dimensions with God, Goddess, all that is. In early 1987, while I was attending a month-long workshop, the Pleiadian emissaries of light came to me at the end of a group procession and led me on an out-of-body journey. During this journey, I met 4 Pleiadian archangels named Ra, Mat, Ta, and An-Ra, who would change my life and the lives of many others. I was given personal spiritual activations and information and was told that these archangels and their helpers would be working with me throughout the training and beyond. Their purpose was to teach me movements and hands-on processes that would, in Ra's words, enable humans to release neurological holding patterns that must be released in order to handle the upcoming frequencies on Earth. This language was new to me at the time, but I believed them. Although I did not tend to trust etheric beings, I trusted them at once. They were loving and clear. Amazing lucid dreaming with these Pleiadians archangels followed. At night, while asleep, I worked with them very closely to learn neurological processes, laser healing, technological, and instructions on what was to come in the way of spiritual evolution for individuals and for Earth as a whole. Night after night, we met and worked together in dream time. Then I would awaken and write it all down. After the training, they slipped behind the veils to allow me time to integrate and heal. Occasionally, they would pop in during healing sessions with clients to assist or give me new instructions. This story is told in greater detail in my book, The Pleiadian Workbook, Awakening Your Divine Ka. In August 1993, these beloved ancient friends and guides returned for a time and brought the Ka teachings. At that time, I had never heard of Ka. Ra defined Ka as the divine double of the physical body that creates an interface between you and your higher self. This enables you to finally embody your higher self fully and become a Christed being. Ra and Ascended Master Jesus Christ worked with me all evening, assisting me in remembering past lives as a temple dreamer in the Egyptian spiritual era. I had agreed with these Pleiadian archangels before my first physical incarnation to be the one who would dream these mystery school teachings into Earth through lucid dreaming and communication with higher dimensional light beings. Tears of light encoding flowed simultaneously as I once again anchored this role. This was the step that led to the first Pleiadian Lightwork Intensive, the name given to the healing and teaching aspects of the Dolphin Star Temple Mystery School, which I founded later that year. Our purpose in the Dolphin Star Temple Mystery School is to assist in bringing about the second coming of Christ in Massey, when a minimum of 144,000 humans come into their full multi-dimensional alignment, maintaining their pillars of light to divine source of all time. When at least 144,000 humans attain Christ consciousness and enlightenment, a wave will be experienced by all living beings on earth. Everyone will have a brief experience of divine truth and enlightenment. Afterward, each human being will be enabled to make a conscious choice based on that experience about whether or not to continue in an illusionary ego-based reality or to choose a life based on spiritual growth, divine love, and alignment with divine truth and the divine plan. The Pleiadian and Sirian emissaries of light, with me as their channel, in cooperation with the Brotherhood and Sisterhood of the Ray of the Ascended Christ and the Galactic and Intergalactic Federation of Light, have brought about the contemporized Ka-Ba and Merkaba teachings as they did in the ancient Lemurian, Atlantis, and Egypt. These ancient mystery schools taught seekers in a specific sequential order. The sequence was and is designed to ensure that any student seeker is prepared with whatever teachings, healings, activations, self-help tools, and initiations are needed before moving to the next level. Following are the sequential stages of the Mystery School teachings. 1. To begin, self-help tools for clearing karma and releasing ego identity, meditation techniques, and teachings about impeccability. 2. To awaken the divine Ka and embody one's higher self. 3. To heal the Ba or soul and return it to its essential state of splendor, glory, innocence, love, and connection to Source. 4. To heal the cellular structure and clear mutations. 5. To clear DNA or genetic mutations and activate DNA of the higher self. 6. To heal the male-female split and refine sexual energy with loving tantric practice. 7. To anchor the Loic Shut Connect or Pillar of Light. 8. To reconstruct and activate the Merkaba and Diamond Light Body, anchoring one through all dimensions in the sacred geometry of light. All of this takes place within the City of Light, Dolphin Star Temples, which are activated and anchored for each intensive training. Dolphin Star Temple is one of several mystery school systems on the planet at this time. When you choose to become part of a mystery school system, that choice is intended to be made from your own knowing inside that is right for you. A mystery school system should not be chosen from fear or missing out, from giving power away to a teacher or system, or form of guilt or shame. It is intended to be chosen only from a place of knowing inside that this is what you are drawn to and that you are ready to do your inner work. The right system will invoke enthusiasm and an inner knowing that is right for you. Whichever system you choose from that place is the best for you, but not necessarily the best for everyone. You must be ready to take responsibility for all actions in your lives, past, present, and future. It is your responsibility to come to any mystery school and its teachers with respect and honor for the gift that is being offered, but not from the standpoint of giving any teacher or guru like responsibility for your life. You come to become a master being, not to be a follower of someone else or to make that person your master. To be a true living ascended master, you must first master yourself. As in every mystery school system, Dolphin Star Temple has its own higher council of light. This council consists of light beings from higher dimensional levels who are dedicated to the awakening of humans via the particular system they serve. Again, each system has its own uniqueness and beauty and equality with all other systems. You need not join this or any system in order to reap the spiritual benefits from its teachers or teachings. The channeling and meditations are the heart of the principles of this mystery school. I would like to introduce you to the members of the Dolphin Star Temple Higher Council of Light, who are the divine source of the channelings included in the rest of this course. They are the Pleiadian, Sirian, and Andromedan emissaries of light, including Sirian Archangel Hermes and Sarah, Archangel of Impeccability, Sirians, Isis, and Sekhmet, and their helpers, Merlin and the Lady of the Lake. The earth names we have attributed to Father Eros and Mother Erotica, former supreme beings of the entire Andromedan galaxy and still representatives of the Andromedan Higher Council. Goddess Hathor and those in service to her, the priestess of Hathor, also referred to as the Hathors. From the center of the Milky Way, the guardians of the portals between the Milky Way and Andromeda, Thoth, the supreme father of the Atlantean and Egyptian mystery schools. 3. Elohim, divine love, divine grace, and divine innocence, who are always on our higher council, although many others are accessible when needed. 2. Karmic board emissaries of light. Why do not choose to give names? Again, 2. Karmic board emissaries of light who do not wish to give names. Goddess Antares, Ascended Master Jesus Christ, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Kuan Yin, Saint Germain, Joseph of Arimathea, and Kuthumi. Again, others may join us when it is appropriate, but these masters are actual members of our higher council. Archangel Michael and his messengers, Mark and Osiris, our representative from Orion. There are many angels, fairies, and other helpers that often lend assistance who are not on our higher council. I hope you will enjoy connecting with these beloved ones as much as I have enjoyed their guidance and assistance. Crystalline Cities of Light. Teachings from the Dolphin Star Temple Higher Council and Amor's Higher Self-Alignment. Since before the Lemurian era, higher dimensional cities of light have played an intricate role in the spiritual development of Earth and her human inhabitants. Ever since the first initiate had the first transcendental experience, humans have had a direct connection to these crystalline cities, perhaps in a meditation or in a lucid dream. The seeker suddenly finds herself waking out of body up a flight of crystalline steps toward a beautiful light-filled crystallized temple. There, a light being greets the visitor with a gift of a golden staff or a robe and crown or a crystal wand. Words may or may not be exchanged. When the visit is complete, the person returns to the waking consciousness, still feeling the energy and light flowing through the body. These visits bring great joy and encouragement to the seeker on the path to enlightenment. The example I have just gave is a simple one, and there are numerous possible alternatives, yet it is a typical starting point for many. Further on one's path, initiations may be given to the crystalline temples. Eventually, the seeker will be invited to come into an entire crystalline city of light. These cities of light are complete with crystalline walls and gates, and often large complexes of temples and various sacred geometry forms. I would like to make you aware of a few of the Earth's cities of light locations and of the sacred protocol for assessing them. Mount Shasta is one of only 2 crystalline cities of light currently anchored at ground level on Earth. So let us begin our journey there. When I first visited Mount Shasta in 1985, I knew nothing of vortex centers and cities of light. Therefore, I was very surprised to be greeted by Saint Germain, whom I have not heard of either. He lovingly told me the source of all the major problem areas in my life and what to do about them. When I returned to the campsite in ecstasy and told my friends what had happened, he replied, "Yea, Mount Shasta is known for things like that. It is supposed to be some kind of vortex center or something." Well, I was convinced. I began regular pilgrimages, during which I always began or bought a large clear quartz crystal altar, as I was guided to do. These magical visits continued, and I moved to Mount Shasta City in October of 1988. Each visit was better and more powerful than the one before. On one memorable trip in late 1985, my visual interpretations were altered in such a way that everything I saw, people, rocks, and trees alike, appeared slightly geometrical, styled, and had numerous or numbers written on them. I automatically knew exactly what the numbers meant and had an instantaneous understanding of the major historic details in the life of each person or nature object. I even dreamed in sacred geometry and numbers without words, as if they were in an old and totally familiar language. Saint Germain was there to provide personal life guidance as well. In December of 1989, I finally found out with whom I had been speaking all those years. Then, I had experienced 2 or 3 of the crystal temple visits I mentioned earlier. In 1988, just before moving to Mount Shasta, I had my first experience of seeing a large crystalline city of light hovering above half a mile about the peak of the mountain. In the beginning, I saw it only from the outside, Beings of light from the sacred city will communicate with me, take me through activations, give me healings and meditations to do, or just send me love. I was being prepared for the deeper experiences to come at that time. The Ascended Master retreat space inside the taller of the two peaks had existed for quite a long time. It looks like a gigantic cave with a domed ceiling and a fireplace in the center. Sometimes the Ascended Masters would gather. Again, sometimes the Ascended Masters would gather. Again, sometimes the Ascended Masters would gather. In 1988, just before moving to Mount Shasta, I had my first experience of seeing a large crystallized city of light hovering about half a mile above the peak of the mountain. Sometimes the Ascended Masters would gather at a long table. At other times they would sit around the fire or stand in processional form. At times there were taking even group discussions or talking, even group discussions. At other times we met in silence. Each visit was different, and each visit continues to be. Anyone can call on the Ascended Masters of Mount Shasta and ask for permission to come into their retreat. If you are admitted, an Ascended Master will come to take you in. You will be greeted by male and female Ascended Masters dressed in long white robes. The Ascended Masters retreat is also the gathering place in Mount Shasta for the Great White Brotherhood, originally called the Order of the Great White Light, a mystical order of light beings, both human and high dimensional, who are working on behalf of Earth's spiritual awakening and ascension. When you find yourself inside, try not to have expectations. This will allow you to be receptive to what the Masters deem appropriate for you at that time. You may meet only one being or many. You may notice other humans around or not. Remain open and receptive. From inside the Ascended Masters retreat, you may request admission to the Intergalactic Federation of Light meeting room in the upper quadrant of the smaller peak of Mount Shasta called Shastina. As I understand it, this space was anchored in Mount Shasta in 1993, shortly after the City of Light was anchored down to an elevation of 5,000 feet. Before March of 1993, the City of Light of Mount Shasta remained above the mountain. It was anchored at ground level during the full moon of that March. With the greatest depth of snowfall on the mountains in this century, I was strongly pulled to drive up as high as possible that night with a friend. At about 5,000 feet, we both felt an incredible surge of light and energy and knew we had gone through a portal or some sort. A mile or two further, another surge and a rarefaction of energies ensued. At that point, I pulled out to the side of the road, tuned in, and asked the Ascended Master clairaudiently what was happening. Jesus Christ replied immediately by appearing to me and telling me to expand my clairvoyance to see the mountain as if from a distance. At once I saw a giant light ship surrounding and containing the entire mountain. Jesus told me that he had called me to come up the mountain and be a part of the anchoring of the City of Light into ground level. We would be inside the City of Light at a fifth dimensional level all the way up to our destination at Bounty Flat or at Bunny Flat. He said that at 3 lines over 8,000 feet in altitude, the 6 dimensional levels will begin. Eventually, the entire physical city of Mount Shasta and the surrounding area would be anchored as a living city of light. But this would take place in many years. He went on to say that Mount Shasta would be the first physical city to operate by consensus and higher law. That night on Mount Shasta was as magical as any I have ever experienced. The crystalline rays of light were visible to both my friends and me. We felt as if we were truly in sacred communion or sang with God. Temple pillars were being lowered at varying elevations. Geometric buildings were being lowered into place. Jesus said that the depths of snowfall was being used to anchor the sacred geometry. Snowflakes have a natural crystalline geometric structure which creates the physical grounding for higher dimensional crystalline energies. Once the city of light was anchored into the snow and into earth, it would remain and continue to deepen and expand even when the snow melted. Since that time, an ascension temple has been anchored directly above the Shasta Peak. It is an elongated cone that becomes a spiral, crystalline, of course. When you enter from its lowest point near the peak of Shasta, you are energized and your light body is activated. Sometimes first-time visitors do not get to move all the way through the upper tip of the spiral. Sometimes they do. When you are lifted through the tip of the spiral, this ascension temple is a portal into many other places, including Shambhala, a Venusian city of the light, the city of light of Machu Picchu, and others, where you go in a very individual thing. Again, where you go is a very individual thing and is determined by the guardians of the ascended temple. Beneath Mount Shasta is a Lemurian city which has its own temple complex. Again, your mission and personal experience there is very individualized. Many visitors to this Lemurian city are greeted in the round courtyard of the temple complex. It is a very social and joyful place, complete with large fountain, lots of flowers and benches. The Lemurians tend to hug more than the ascended masters and other guides do. You may be invited to tour their homes, the library, or a specific temple just enjoy. On February the 8th, 2000, I was greeted in a morning meditation by the members of the Dolphin Star Temple Higher Council of Light. The masters who approached me that day informed me that we had built enough multidimensional light and anchoring of the higher dimensional energies and enough students, practitioners, and teachers that we were being given our own inner sanctuary inside Mount Shasta. The Dolphin Star Temple Inner Sanctuary is now part of the Mount Shasta City of Light. It is a small complex unto itself as well. To journey there, invoke 3 times the guardians of the Dolphin Star Temple Inner Sanctuary of Mount Shasta. Tell them you would like to visit the sanctuary and receive any light activations or healings that are appropriate for you on your spiritual path. Do you not have to be, again, you do not have to be in the mystery school to be welcomed there. The complex has a central ascension temple, a higher council meeting room, and a library containing pertinent records from the halls of Amenti and the Alexandria libraries of Atlantis and Egypt. There are many healing rooms and chambers of light rooms in which you can receive energy balancing, car activation for embodying your higher self, nervous system healing, all of the chambers of light sessions listed in the Pleiadian workbook, and more. Guides will show you which ones you can use and how. There is also a social and music area that looks like a courtyard. A large fountain is centrally located in this courtyard. If you step into it, you will drop through a portal into the courtyard area of the Lemurian temple complex. Mount Shasta is one of numerous sacred sites on earth that house temples of the sun, the others of which I am aware of on the east side of Mount Kalai on the big island of Hawaii beneath Uluru, formerly called Ayers Rock or Ayers Rock of Central Australia, the Great Pyramid of Giza in Cairo, Egypt, the Tor in Glastonbury, England, site of ancient Avalon, Palenque in Mexico, Machu Picchu in Peru. These 6 sites are also chakras in Earth's 13 chakra system, as in is Mount Shasta. Temples of the sun have traditionally been used as places to hold ceremonies at sunrise and on the equinoxes and solstices to assist humans in aligning with the divine plan as it is calibrated with our time cycles, which correspond to orbital cycles. In other words, we realign ourselves with our place within the cosmos, our soul's purpose, and earth and universal divine plan through our connection to our local sun. Before physical birth in each lifetime, our soul passes through the sun. Inside the sun, we leave an imprint of time, released encodings of our purpose for the giving lifetime. The sun also imprints our souls with the co-created divine plan for each during our upcoming lifetime. When we do ceremonies with the sunrise, high noon, sunset, at midnight aspects of Earth's daily orbit, we realign these encodings. You can also look at the sun at any time and ask the sun to assist you in attracting or attaining your goals while breathing the sunlight into your body and chakras. As we progress through life and complete goals, the sun releases new encodings to us through its rays that impulse our next goals to be activated in our lives. This sacred relationship has been honored in most indigenous cultures throughout time. Like Lake Titicaca, another of Earth's chakras, contains a crystalline city of light beneath its deep waters. To many seekers who have experienced Lake Titicaca, the city of light seems more like a subaquatic space station than a city. This is because, like Mount Shasta, city of light, it is both. These cities of light serve as posts for many high-dimensional light beings from other star systems. Lake Titicaca is the main headquarters for the Intergalactic Federation of Light. This intergalactic federation is composed of members of the Andromedan and Milky Way galactic federations of light. Milky Way and Andromeda are twin galaxies, also called cosmic twins. Other intergalactic members are from the Great Central Sun, including Elohim or Elohim, archangels, supreme beings of numerous galaxies, and even large sections of the universe. Centrally located in the Lake Titicaca subaquatic complex is the Great Central Sun Temple, which connects to the Earth star crystal at the center of the Earth. At its bottommost point, from the tip of its cone-shaped sphere, in the center of this large dome roof temple is a portal that opens into the Great Central Sun. This Great Central Sun Temple literally anchors Earth connections to the Great Central Sun and to the Divine Source. The other Earth chakras are located at Mount Denali, Alaska, Mount Fuji near Tokyo, Japan, Mount Bathur and Lake Bathur in Bali, Indonesia, Table Mountain near Cape Town, South Africa, and Delphi, Greece. These are discussed in more detail. Each chapter or each chakra located has its own city of light with its own function. As I mentioned earlier, at this time, Mount Shasta and Lake Titicaca are the only two cities of light anchored at ground level. The other 11 are etherically located above the physical chakra site. If you choose to explore these, ask in your meditation or before going to sleep for the guardians of the particular crystalline city of light you wish to visit to come and take you there if it is in your highest good at this time. It is inappropriate to rush an initiation or access to higher frequencies, multidimensional places, unless you are properly prepared and it is your right timing. This is why the crystalline cities of light have guardians to ensure your safety and maintain the purity of the sacred space. If you ask 3 times and receive no response, then it is not the appropriate time. The guardians and masters will come for you when the timing is right, once you have made a request. Many crystalline cities of light and individual etheric temples exist beyond those I have named. Just trust that when it is time for you to experience them, your guides will make sure it happens. When you physically visit an earth chakra, greet the ascended masters, overlighting divas, and guardians of this sacred space. Tell them you have come to commune with the light beings in the city of light and to receive from them whatever is appropriate. Also let them know that you would like to experience and honor the sacred purpose of that space and ask permission to enter. When this sacred protocol is followed, it tends to open your multidimensional access to the beauty and light more deeply. It is also traditional in many spiritual cultures to take a gift, perhaps nuts or chocolate, for the nature spirits, or a small amount of cornmeal, or whole grain. Leave crystals only when you are specifically guided to do so. Otherwise, they may not be appropriate for the site. I love to carry spring water from Mount Shasta and pour a small amount into water sources and other sacred sites to create a sharing and linking of the sites. Whatever you do and wherever you go, approach in the spirit of honoring and sacredness. And the gift you will receive will far outweigh those of the taker. Alignment with the cosmic cycles of time. As you read through the channelings and the following, and throughout this course, take a moment before beginning each new channeling to call in the light beings giving the channels. Set a receptive and sacred space and then proceed. Past, present, future, the transcendental now. Hermes, sacred brothers and sisters of light, we are here to hail you into an awakening that has not happened on earth for a great long time. In a sense, it has never happened because much learning has taken place and much new experience since planetary awakening was last experienced on earth. From that standpoint, the great awakening that is coming is beyond what has ever been. Yet there has been times of great awakening on earth in which you have all participated to some degree. We wish you to remember that now. The reason many of you have forgotten is this: when you remember the times of greatness and your human persistence in believing in laws, you equate the past greatness with the grief or grievous belief that because it ended you must have fallen. And this is a great misnomer, for the truth of that creation moves in cycles. In innocence, we are still trying to understand why the human consciousness has certain paradigms. We know that you have the tendencies, and we know that what is indeed, but we do not always understand why you continue to go back to your tendencies or paradigms to make ourselves wrong as we do. So, as we remind you of higher perspectives, we also learn from you as you evolve into transcendence. The paradigm we wish to bring to your attention at this time is a tendency when something has occurred that has appeared to be traumatic or that has ended a period of great awakening to lose your connection to the great awakening. Somehow believing that the trauma, the damage, or the loss occurred because of the awakening, you believe that the trauma genuinely occurred because the dark is greater than the light. And this is a great illusion and a great lie that exists on the earth at this time. And many of you have given much power away to it. We would like to explain it to you from a much broader perspective. So we ask you to allow us to impulse your crown chakra with a laser of electric blue light to enable you to hear us more clearly and go beyond the words, for the words are shallow compared with the full meaning. So if you would like us to impulse you with a laser of electric blue light to open your crown chakra, simply and silently say yes. Good. We will continue. In the greater cycle of time, the divine plan unfolds in stages. Some of you may be aware of the Mahabharata, in which Arjuna was asked to start a battle with opening forces or opposing forces. Arjuna understood that battle was not the way to solve problems. Yet there he stood in front of the army facing thousands of so-called enemies, and it was up to him. He would charge forth in his chariot, and it would be a signal that the battle had begun. He would have preferred to take his own life than to begin that war. His teacher, Krishna, came forward as Arjuna remained immobile and gave him great teachings. These teachings have become known as the Mahabharata. Krishna told Arjuna that he was destined to lead that great battle because it was time on earth for that cycle to take place. He showed Arjuna that it was his dharma, that it was what he was created for in this lifetime. He helped Arjuna to disidentify from the immediate circumstance and see the bigger picture. And Arjuna let go of his ego, released his emotional attachment, and went into a state of divine surrender. And with his whip, he clicked in the air, and his horse charged forth, and the great battle took place. There has been times on earth when the forces of darkness have overstepped their bounds and have gone too far in the destruction of the innocent. This has called for intervention from those who enforce universal law. When the overlighting divas of darkness and destruction are no longer able to control their own forces, then physical action must take place. The Vietnam War was a recent occurrence in which something went further than it was intended to go. You have had two such occurrences in this century alone. The Second War, or World War, went further than it was intended to go, and in both of those situations, humans have been called on to intervene through physical battle to stop the destruction that has gone too far. Because you see, there are divas of the group who fight, or overlighting beings, or supreme beings, as you might call them. Those supreme beings are following the divine plan. However, there are times when the humans will, because of the collective consciousness of the people involved, become stronger than the beings that rule them. They go too far. When Hitler began his plan in Germany, the planetary karmic agreement between all involved required only about 1/3 to 1/2 the impact actually occurred. Because it was stopped, however, at the point at which it was intended to recede, it was as if a wildfire was suddenly blown by a great wind. It went out of control. Human addiction to the psychic energy and power created through massive murder took hold of many of the German soldiers. Because of this, much destruction was required to stop it. Many of you have suddenly known, or subconsciously known this, and have believed that it was a failure of the light. You have believed that darkness is stronger, but what you need to comprehend now is that it is simply a product of karmic co-creation. You have agreed to be on a planet of co-creation. When the collective consciousness becomes stronger than the overlighting forces, their own will takes over, whether it be for the light or the dark. Therefore also have been times when the friends of whom you call the Pleiadian emissaries of light and their overlighting functions have gone too far to stop disaster from happening that needed to occur. When the light went too far, it also slowed down the divine plan. Just as when human collective consciousness goes further into its karmic darkness than was anticipated. You see, dear one, it is all a great experiment. None of these mistakes are ultimate. They are simply a process of all existence, learning at the time. And yes, there is a divine plan, because at some point in the future, everything has already come to place of oneness and harmony. And it is your own future that is constantly pulling you toward itself. There is a point of divine revolution at which all of existence is in agreement as to the order of things. It shall be a great time of great joy and reunion. Shall be a time of great awakening. When I look to your future selves, I see all of you crying great tears of remembrance. We went to impulse again. We wish to impulse you with that memory now, for your future is a memory as such as is the past. You have believed that it is not safe to open your highest potential, although you have longed for the creation of communities, for a planet run by sacred law, for individual and planetary ascension. There is something in your psychics that stop you from going as far as you can go to attain these accomplishments. What stops you is your fear of failure, your fear that what you want the most will be within reach, and then something will come along and pull the rug from under you, and you will lose again. You feel that it will be unbearable, but in the greatest or greater cycle of evolution time, you see you are always given time of strength before you must face your own karmic patterns. You are intended to use these strengths and positive reference points to help you transcend the challenging times when your karmas are brought to the fore. Those of you who have read the Pleiadian perspectives on human evolution will understand this more fully. The stories were given to Amor in such a way as to impulse you to remember how karmic dispensations work. Parts of your memories are withheld from you at times until you have healed and strengthened enough to know how to deal with them. For instance, if you have a karma around misuse of power and you have come to a place of recognizing this paradigm, regretting what you have done, you might choose to give up all your power as if you had never had it. Then you come into a lifetime in order to start learning about power from scratch again. When you reach the point of having power again in the right way, you are afraid you are going to repeat the past. You are afraid you will make the same mistake again. So you only let yourself go so far. You hang there, stuck because you are afraid to trust yourself. You have lost your connection to your divine sovereignty. The truth is that the fall from power was simply an opportunity for you to relive an ancient pattern. Again, to relive an ancient pattern in order to choose a new way. Thousands and thousands of years have taken place on this earth in which the humans have progressed forward and fallen back. But as in the stories of the Pleiadian perspectives, there are times when the collective consciousness of a group of people has said, we need help. We see that you have gone too far into the pain to be able to handle the truth, and so we simply reprove or remove your memories of the gain of the pain, and you enter a time of grace. It is a grace period, and in that grace period your life began to blossom again. You do not feel the pain. It still exists in your multidimensional hologram, but it is outside of your consciousness. You go about your life and you begin to spiritually awaken. You have beautiful experiences. Romantically, you surrender how to experience surrender and tantric energy. Again, romantically, you learn how to experience surrender and tantric energy. You come to the point in which whole segments of your world are in peace and joyful. It is as safe. Again, it is as if watching your society. It becomes a great musical symphony in which everyone is singing his or her part and in tune. Then suddenly something happens. That something that happens is a prearranged release of your karmic patterns. You have had a grace period in which to build your strengths. You have learned sacred truths. You have learned how to live in harmony with one another. You have learned how to experience peace on earth. And then it is as if an infusion takes place, and the part of you that is still stuck in drama or trauma or past experiences is reintroduced gradually into your psychic. You are more prepared to deal with it than you were before because of all the learnings that you have had since the original karma inspired. All the strengths you have had built are now your tools with which to work. However, if you believe that your dreaded past will repeat again because it has happened before, then you forsake the very tools you have accumulated with which to transcend the pattern. We wish to stop and ask if you have questions at this point.